everyone, GamerJlee here, and this is a bit of a one-off video. This year, I want to talk about other things besides Halo, and when I saw the announcement this morning, it piqued my interest since as a kid, teen, and even adult, I have always loved Pokemon. Now, I don't enjoy it as much as I did when I was a kid because I feel like there's a lack of new ideas and Pokemon designs. I mean, when you have to turn trash, ice cream, sandcastles, and even a fucking chandelier into Pokemon, you know you're running out of ideas. But early this morning, the Pokemon Company had their first ever Pokemon Direct, and there were two big announcements. The first announcement was of a remaster for Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team, a game for the original DS back in 2006. And the second announcement, and the subject of this video, was the expansion pass for Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, the reason why I'm making this video is because, like always, when something like this is announced, there's either massive excitement or massive outrage. And due to all the controversies that this game has had even before its launch, I knew I would hear about it on Twitter. But before we get into the community's opinion, or even my opinion, let's talk about the actual expansion pass, what it brings to the game, and why a number of people were skeptical about this decision by Game Freak. Now, lucky for us, there's this easy to read roadmap of everything you'll get under the expansion pass and what will be free updates to the game. There's a lot to break down, so let's start from the left and go to the right. Starting with today, which included a free update. You, of course, will be able to pre-purchase the expansion pass for Pokemon Sword and Shield, but you also will get to experience events with the new characters, Kalra in Pokemon Sword, while in Pokemon Shield, you'll meet with Avery. You'll even have the opportunity to capture a Galarian Slowpoke. This is something that is actually pretty easy to do because all you have to do is go back to your hometown, go to the train station, and a small little cutscene event will happen where you will have to capture the Pokemon. So you can do that, or if someone is willing to maybe trade it to you. I don't know if it spawns in the wild, but this is the easy and most simplistic way to capture the Pokemon. Now, this isn't a bad way to get started, and you actually get some new events and a new Pokemon. But as we move on to the right, by the end of June, we will be getting the Isles of Armor update, which also includes a whole new storyline, which will be added to the game if you bought the expansion pass. That same day, there will also be a free update to the game, adding 100 familiar Pokemon into the game. Now, this was a big thing of conflict when the game initially launched, as you could not bring your classic Pokemon into the game, and there were 400 Pokemon missing at launch. Now, as someone who has played a game that has had the feeling of content that was taken out at launch just to be given back as a new free update, I know how this feels, and this could be one of two things. One, they are beginning to add these Pokemon back late to make up for the fact that 400 Pokemon were missing from the game's launch. Or two, they have had this content made before the game's launch and are doing the same thing that Halo 5 did. And that's why I wanted to cover the story, because it is very similar to something that happened in the Halo community. For those of you who are just watching this video and know nothing about Halo 5's controversy, let me give you the TLDR. Back in 2015, Halo 5 launched, and a lot of people's opinion was it was lacking. The campaign was trash, the multiplayer was full of sweaty players, and there were no social playlists. And a lot of the fun game modes that we have come to know and love, well, they were missing. They were nowhere to be found in the game. 6 months later, and we finally started to see game modes like Griffball and Zombies return to the game when they should have been there at launch. To a lot of fanboys, it was 343 just needing more time to get things done and make sure that it's polished. While to a lot of us that are skeptical of 343, it was them cutting content, repackaging it, and saying it was new content. Sound familiar? But enough about Halo. Back to the expansion pass. To wrap it up in fall, for players who purchase the expansion pass, they will receive the Crown Tundra expansion, and another 100 classic Pokemon will be added to the game for free. Now, from what we can see in the trailer, there is a lot of content that you actually get for this expansion pass. Now, we can't say for sure what this storyline is going to be, how long it is going to be, and how many new Pokemon they're actually going to be adding to the game, but it does look like you will get your money's worth, especially when you're getting 2 expansions for $30. Now, when this news dropped, I put out this tweet. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, I love the idea of getting new content in a game and expanding its lifespan, but this costs $30 and there are 2 different versions of the pass. What do you guys think? After this, I got many different responses. First off, we have Kino Connoisseur, who says this: ripping Pokemon out of the base game just to sell them back to us as premium DLC content? I don't fucking think so. Nobody who takes issue with cutting up a base game just to sell back to us as DLC should support this. Disgraceful move on Game Freak's part, but sadly not surprising. Next, we had fellow Halo content creator Halo Cannon, who had this to say: for any other game, it would be weird for sure, but it makes sense given the nature of Pokemon games. There are 2 games per generation, so I feel like it makes sense that the DLC for seasons or whatever for each game would feature similar but distinct stuff. And then we have Frankenstein, who had this to say: okay, so because it's the first console 3D big world Pokemon, I can forgive it. Also, it's better than them doing a new game in 12 months that we can't continue into. Overall, I'm happy this game is getting more content. And last but not least, I caught this take by my good friend Dead on Dave, and this is what he had to say. Roll it.
What's going on, guys? All right, so it's rainy, but I wanted to stand outside for a minute and talk about Pokemon Direct, because I saw some people getting a little bit upset over the fact that we're going to have to pay for a DLC and all that. And at first, I'm not going to lie, after watching it, I was like, what the fuck? Like, we're going to have to pay $30 for each game's 2 expansions after, you know... Then I thought about it a little bit, and I started seeing what other people were saying, especially about the Pokemon thing, which seemed to be the biggest bugaboo. The fact that, you know, people were like, oh, we're going to have to pay to get more Pokemon, and people seem to be equating that to just paying for more Pokemon, and that was it. But that's not really the case. You see, what happened here is they've upgraded what they've been doing over the last, 20 years. Every time that we've gotten a new generation, we've always gotten a 3rd game in the series besides the main 2 that we get. Most of the times, it's just a gussied up version of what we already did, and we'd have to replay the entire game once again. This was at its absolute worst in the last generation, in my opinion. Playing Ultra and having to replay the entire goddamn grindy game that was Sun and Moon, even though it was fun, it was grindy and soul-sucking, and honestly... I kind of stopped playing Pokemon for a while after, because I was just simply so burned out after having to redo everything just to get to some of the new content. Well, now, that's not going to be the case. Now, when you pay for the expansions, we're getting actual expansions on an already solid, fantastic experience. And I've said this before. I think this generation has been the best overall Pokemon experience I've ever had. And now knowing I'm not going to have to just pay $60 for a new Ultra Edition, where it's the same game having to take me back through the same adventures just to get a couple new features. Now, new region, new areas, new everything, new models, all of it. It's a whole new experience to adding on to what you already have. And if you don't want to buy that, you just trade for the new Pokemon. I see this as win-win and a huge, 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 huge step forward for Pokemon, and I am thrilled about it. I'm going to talk more about it tonight on stream, but I just want to get a couple thoughts out there. Let me know what you think.
Now, Dave is someone who I highly trust when it comes to Pokemon, and if you want to check him out, you can go check him over on twitch.tv/deadondave. So this is where it is tough for me as someone who doesn't follow Pokemon as much as I used to, but also likes to do what is best for the consumer. The problem is we're talking in what ifs. We cannot say that they had malicious intent because we have no exact proof, just that this is how it comes off to us. Even in the Halo 5 situation, I cannot say 100% without a doubt that this is what happened. All I can say is this is how it feels to me and what I believe happened. Now, where I stand is I agree with a lot of the points that Dave made. I'm tired of having to buy a third or fourth game every generation and restarting the whole adventure. I would like to have all of my Pokemon saved up and not have to go through the same story with just minimal touches. But this is where I'm not someone who plays through these games a lot, and I'm gonna kind of have to explain this the best depending on your situation. If you want more story content after beating the game and doing any side content you can, then this might be a good option. You get new Pokemon, attire, and 2 new adventures to go on this year. If you don't like this, then get the free updates. Enjoy them. Oh, and another thing, you can have your friends trade you those expansion Pokemon, no problem. It doesn't cost you a dime. You don't have to have the expansion. They can literally just trade them to you. So you can get them all without having to spend a dime. The thing is I understand the frustration of the 400 missing Pokemon. I understand the frustration of thinking that this is cut content that they're just selling back to you. I understand all that. It's hard to say what is true and what is false because we're going off of what ifs. And when we do that, we usually make asses of ourselves or we catch people in lies. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, if you enjoyed the video or found it helpful or informative, then leave a like on the video. You can follow me on Twitter to find out about what I'm up to and about upcoming videos and live streams. You can follow me on Instagram to see funny live stream clips and other kinds of content. You can follow me on Mixer for weekly live streams every Sunday through Tuesday at 6 p.m. PST. And finally, you can also join our community Discord where you can chat with people, submit questions for the returning monthly Q&A, or join in one of the voice chats during live streams when we are playing with viewers. But you're probably asking before we head out, what are you going to do, GamerJlee? Are you going to play more Pokemon Sword and Shield? Are you going to, pick up the expansion pass? I don't know. I didn't play that much when the game launched, and I'm way behind compared to everyone else, including my girlfriend, who I bought a Nintendo Switch for this Christmas, and I might start playing the game more just so we have something we can do together besides play Mario Party and me kicking her ass. Sorry, honey. And when it comes to the expansion pass, I'm probably going to wait and see what happens. I'm probably not going to be a day oneer whenever it comes to it. I'm probably going to sit back, watch someone play through it and see how many hours worth of content there is, and then maybe I'll pick it up myself and experience it for myself. But it just all depends if I actually get back into the base game. It's not worth buying the DLC if I'm not even enjoying the base game. So maybe I'll play a little bit more Pokemon Sword and Shield, and if it's worth the money, I'll pick it up. I might not. It just all depends, and I recommend you do the same. Don't be a day oneer. Go, wait and see, and then decide. That is the best way I can suggest things. But thank you guys for watching, and as always, GamerJlee signing out. Saga!